Good evening, everyone. This is Jay Dobensky coming to you live from the Weather Co-op Studio B location in Beverly Hills, California. I will be coming on with a live show here to recap the history of the storms that have occurred since Friday and do a little bit of forecasting ahead to what you need to look forward to tomorrow. Good evening, everyone. This is Jay Dobensky coming to you live from the Weather Co-op. And yes, Studio it's B working. Location in Beverly Hills, California. I will be coming on with a live show here to recap the history of the storms that have occurred since Friday and do a little bit of forecasting ahead. Running, and we now have our audio. So welcome to all of you throughout the country, throughout the world who are watching this live stream as we take a look at the last 36 hours of weather across the United States and really focus on the mechanisms behind the weather that's occurred, the running, and we now have sorry about that audio. So there's our storm reports. It's about a 20-second delay the way I set that up, so you're hearing the speaker there. The number of storm reports was just astounding yesterday. So we'll go through that just a little bit. We'll go through what has happened this evening and why, what the synoptic setup is behind that, and then what we're forecasting for tomorrow, for Monday, for Tuesday, rinse and repeat, most likely Wednesday. We're in one of those stretches, and I mean the calendar says it. If nothing else, it's going into the third week of May, and typically it's a very busy time for severe weather season in the U.S. And although the map that you see behind me here, and I will get this up for those of you, we get the same map up for you. For those of you who are at home who want to see this same map, what I did back here, and actually just you can see it behind me. Maybe I have to reverse that view so it's no, you're okay. So that was the outbreak in the middle of March. What you see behind me, that was March 14th through the 16th. And you can see the storm tracks there and how everything moved across Dixie Alley into the Mississippi River Valley, and then up into many areas that were affected last night also. The exception there was that we really didn't have any activity that stretched over into Kentucky in the middle of March. Last night, we saw several storms that were able to make it through Kentucky, even nocturnally. So the area did expand a little bit, but very similar to what we saw in mid-March. And then April was kind of on and off, few active days, a few quiet days. And for the most part, May has been fairly sedate. You know, we had one or two tornado reports a few days, and that's been about it. So now things are kicking back really hard. And over the last 36 hours, what we saw in the setup was this cutoff low pressure system that was trapped in the middle of the country. It was, pinwheeling itself, didn't really have any steering currents. There was a fairly large blocking high pressure ridge off the East Coast, north of Bermuda, that was keeping it from moving west to east. So it just sat there and made its way up to the Great Lakes and just started to pool in moisture and pool down cooler air. At the same time, it was pulling warm, moist air up from the Gulf. And it really just energized the atmosphere in the entire eastern half of the country. We've had several bouts of rain, several bouts of severe weather, several bouts of hail, all due to this very slow-moving upper-level low-pressure system. Today, in fact, that area of disturbed weather made an impact in New England and the Mid-Atlantic states and produced several severe thunderstorm warnings, several reports of hail, straight-line wind damage. Have not seen any reports of tornadic activity, and the indices were borderline anyway, so I'm not even confident that we had what it takes in the atmosphere to be tornadic with those storms. But there certainly were a few large ones. The lightning was certainly an issue there with the storms that went through New York State, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. I think there'll be a lot of reports in that regard. As far as tornadic weather today, we've had a few reports, but they've been down in the typical tornado alley area of I-35 running down from Oklahoma into Texas. And this evening, as you can see here, those of you who are watching the Weather Co-op feed, the storms in the south, and I'll get those a little bit closer for you. See if I can do that. There we go. Okay. There. So the storms that were in Oklahoma and Texas earlier have moved eastward and are now impacting places like Kansas City to St. Louis, just south of St. Louis. Moving through Oklahoma, you can see that we have some warnings there and a watch box. And then moving across Arkansas and then into northern Mississippi and Tennessee. And the storm that is impacting northern Mississippi right now looks to be really healthy. There's a tornado warning on that. I'll get a little closer here for you. And this is part of a complex. So we should be able to see that one individual cell there it looks healthy right before it approaches that area where the warning box is. Yeah, see that there goes the warning. It looked like it was beginning to fall apart right there, right in those last couple of frames. So I'm not surprised that they dropped that tornado warning. They probably weren't getting anything in velocity signature to denote any reason for it. And we're getting into the middle of the night now. So, with the loss of the heating of the day and that extra instability, it's helpful to bring down the severity of some of these storms. Not that they're still not capable of producing damage. They are, but a little less in the severe category tonight. I'm going to move to the west. Let me get this image zoomed back out to close to where it was initially. You can see we have some coastal marine advisories here up in New England and in the mid-Atlantic coast for the winds that were associated with the system moving up there. It was a very nice day today, in mid-70s, New York City. But tomorrow will be a much breezier, cooler day. Feel a little bit more like the end of April than the middle end of May. But moving to the west is where I'd like to take you now, because we have another storm system that moved onshore in the Pacific Northwest, moved across the Cascades, and is now developing over the northern Rockies and heading into the mountains of Idaho, Montana, toward the Bitterroots. It's going to impact Utah. It's going to impact Colorado. So you have the Uintas, you have the Wasatch, you have the Rockies. And believe it or not, this storm looks like it will be capable of producing a significant amount of snow in the higher elevations, above the 8K to 10K, but potentially up to a foot of May snowfall out of this storm. So that's a shock. Didn't expect to really think we were going to be forecasting snow in the teens of May, but it's here. And this storm is going to act like a trigger mechanism in the atmosphere for what's to come, looking into the plains by the time we get to Monday, and then through Tornado Alley into Dixie Alley by Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we think that we'll probably even still have activity more toward the Tennessee Valley, toward the Carolinas, and getting over toward the eastern seaboard. So it's going to be a very active pattern here, and you're going to have to stay tuned to Weather Co-op for our updates on social media and the live streams here, which, feel free, like, share, subscribe, hit the notifications for Weather Co-op. We are actively working on our test flight for our app, which will be coming out very soon. And that will allow you to be able to view our product from your phone. You'll be able to see it 24/7. A much more extensive utilization of weather and technology than even what we have now, which is terrific. But that will be coming out soon. And for events like this, it is imperative to have a tool like that where you can get the latest information and you can make those decisions that you need to do to protect yourself, to protect your loved ones, to protect your property. And that's what we've been working on for quite a while. So we're pleased to say that is in its gestation period and about to come out. So stay tuned there. In regards to this setup, I'll finish this off. There's a stationary boundary now that's setting up, and I can pull up a graphic on that. I think I'll do that so you can see it more clearly. With the way these systems have moved across the country and the fact that we're still kind of blocked in here, things aren't moving very quickly. We have more of a slow moving pattern. And let's see if I can bring this. I'm going to try to bring this over to you. So let's see. Just want to show you one of the many maps that I can get available for us. If I can get it. If I can get it. Not that. There we go. It wasn't that difficult, Jay. I poke fun of myself all the time. Okay, interesting. Well, even if I can't do that at the moment, I'm certainly fine explaining it to you. So the way the setup is synoptically now, we have this long, drawn out, fairly stationary frontal boundary that's draped across from like the New Mexico, Colorado border down across Oklahoma, northern Texas, across Arkansas, and then across the northern parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina. And that is going to act as the dividing line between cooler air to the north, more stable air, and then the tropical moisture coming up from the Gulf that's very warm, very humid, very rich. And it's that clash of the air masses that always leads to the development of severe weather. That's the really main ingredient. And when you add in a little bit of wind shear in that mix, you can develop a recipe that can produce severe weather very quickly. So the wind, the rotation in all of that will be this next storm system that's going to be coming out of the Rockies. And I believe I saw the last pressures on it. It was already 1,000 millibar low. So it's a fairly strong low pressure system to be in that area anyway. And the center of it was located roughly over the Idaho, Wyoming, Montana triplex, where those three borders come together. And that is going to move east-southeast over the course of tonight and tomorrow. And when it interacts with the stationary boundary and the air masses that are there, it will help to elevate all those severe indices. So we're going to be introducing warm air, we're going to be introducing humidity, we're going to be introducing cold air aloft, we're going to be introducing shear at various levels of the atmosphere, we're going to be introducing EHI, we're going to be elevating CAPE levels. So everything that you need in that gas can in the environment is going to be there. And for that reason, it truly looks like tomorrow is going to be a pretty significant day. I think for areas leaning more toward the western part of typical Tornado Alley. So looking at, I would say, eastern Colorado, the panhandle of Oklahoma, panhandle of Texas, even, let's say, southwestern Kansas. You will get into this first, and then over the course of tomorrow, moving through the day, I think this system will begin to fire up storms as it begins to develop its flow. I'll use the word flow, and it begins to pull that moisture up from the Gulf with more intensity, and you begin to see storms fire up. Even there may be a little bit of a triple point that develops there from what I've seen on the NCEP mapping. It looks like we could be dealing with a little bit of a triple point there too. But when you start to ramp that up, then you can develop these pretty big supercells, especially during the course of the day when we have the sun out and the daytime heating. And that should move through central areas of Oklahoma, central areas of Kansas, northern Texas, heading toward the eastern edges of those states by the end of the day. And I mean, those are all the major areas you think about when you think about spring tornadoes in the United States. And then when we get to Monday, I think there'll be some overnight storms tomorrow, which is not a good thing. So be prepared for that in the Arklatex area and over toward maybe the Mississippi River Valley. But I do think by Monday morning, that's when the storms will really fire up for the Mississippi River Valley and the Mississippi-Ohio confluence. That area, which was one of the areas that was hit really hard last night. The confluence is right where the southeastern tip of Missouri meets with the southern tip of Illinois and the far western tip of Kentucky and Tennessee. That's the confluence right there. And the storms were firing, and I have a great graphic, if I can get it up for you, that showed, I was reviewing it myself earlier just because I wanted to see the path of the storms. Okay, let's see if we can get this. Yeah, I should be able to grab that. Hold on. This is fun, what we can do here with this computer. So I'm going to bring over this image, which should be a source. Sure. There we are. Let's do this. Let's make it big. Okay, it's working. Stand by. I don't want that. I don't want that. I just want this image, and I could use it to play. The tools that we have available in this toolbox are amazing, so to speak. And it's great because we can show you at home a lot of data and a lot of imagery from like sources you normally can't access. I put it that way. And we're here for you to do that. That's our job. It's our mission. You know, we want you to be as informed as you possibly can. We want you to be able to make decisions that will be helpful for you and your family and your lifestyle, your personal safety, your family safety, you know, things that are happening outside of your local area, but you can still monitor. That's what part of being a co-op really means. And we're doing our best to make sure that we can show you that. Okay, so this image that I'm going to show you here is fairly brief, and I wanted to bring over a much larger image. I'm going to work on that because you need to see this in its totality. Yeah, that's better. Okay, I'm going to put this behind me so that everyone can see it. There it is. Not bad. Nice to have multiple monitors here too, because it allows me to display video in ways that you can't do on one screen. You know, we're really blessed to have all of these other technology types here available to us. So let me get myself out of the way so that you can see what it is that I'm showing you. Here we go. And then I'll maximize the image here quickly. So in the background, you have, if I can pull it over like that. No, I can't pull it over like that, but I can pull it over like this. There we go. There, you can see it better. Yeah, okay. So in the reverse, this was really denoting the storm tracks from yesterday's severe weather event. And you can see the bottom of the screen. And I have a bunch of different parameters that I can pull on this. But the most important is the origin point of the storm. So I don't have my laser pointer here, but you can see where this was the larger box from SPC that was highlighting the high risk area. And sure enough, you see the storms forming during the course of the afternoon mostly in Arkansas, and then moving up toward the Mississippi-Ohio confluence and brushing through those four corners right there, and then moving into Indiana and Kentucky. Now, Indiana had to deal with some pretty severe storms yesterday as well. And then that energy kept moving. And believe it or not, I know we posted something earlier today where we had 28 individual tornado reports, not 28 confirmed tornadoes, just 28 reports from yesterday. And typically the National Weather Service survey teams will discuss what teams need to go to look at what lines of reports, because some of them come in a very condensed area. It's multiple reports for the same tornado is usually how it turns out. But in looking back at the archive, it had gone up this evening to 30 reports, because there were 2 reports that came in later from Maryland. Of all places, Maryland had confirmed EF0, in addition to New Jersey, which also had a confirmed EF0 yesterday. So depending on how many individual tornadoes we end up seeing from, like I said, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Arkansas, am I missing somebody? I don't think I'm missing anybody. If I am, I apologize. No, I think that's about it. Indiana. We should have a count that's probably going to be somewhere in the double digits in terms of actual tornadoes. As far as intensity, the damage photos and videos that I've seen are fairly consistent with what you would see in anywhere from strong EF1 damage to strong EF2 damage, and in a few remote cases around St. Louis, Missouri, there were some images that looked like they were getting into borderline EF3 to potentially strong EF3 type storms. Not good. There were many fatalities, unfortunately, and dozens of people injured, if not hundreds. So we're really feeling for those communities that were impacted by those storms yesterday. And now we're working that much harder to try and help people who may get affected by the storms coming up over the next few days. So we need your help for that. We need your help for that and your help for that. Be a part of our Weather Watcher community. If you see weather, if you are in weather, if you know of anyone that's being impacted by weather, let us know, because we will do everything we can to help proliferate that information out and make as many people's lives safer to whatever degree we can. And even if you're driving up in the passes in Colorado and Wyoming and Montana and in Nevada, even I saw some snow, or in Utah, may have to. I have a busy work week this week, but I may have to throw the skis in and take a ride up to the Wasatch to see if there was any spring skiing going on there. I haven't done May skiing in a while, so we'll see about that. But it's going to be a big week of weather, and if that's not even just it. We have fire weather warnings. We have red flag potential for New Mexico, a small part of Texas, moving into Mexico proper, and then up into NorCal, Northern California. There's some very dry conditions up there as well that didn't really see any rain today. There was a little bit of rain across California when the system came in, but mostly high elevation rain, destabilized as it was moving up into the mountains. And that's not uncommon. So that is basically the picture of what we're going to be looking at for the next several days. We'll be monitoring it. I know we're going to have teams out there. I know we're going to have individuals out there who will contribute content. Please do. Anything that you want to tag Weather Co-op on it, or tag any of us on Weather Co-op. And as long as you're sending it and allowing us to use it, we will gladly put you in with it. We just don't take people's content and leave them. If you want to be a part of a Weather Watcher community, you are a Weather Watcher for us. So we appreciate that. We couldn't be as effective at what we do if it wasn't for the Weather Watchers out there and the Weather Co-op. So we'll see where this goes. It's going to be like a 2.5 hour sleep for me tonight, watching these storms in the south, and be back on it tomorrow, and then see what happens when the severe really pops tomorrow afternoon. We'll have like live radar posts like we were doing today, just to make sure people were seeing the worst of it. And then I'm sure from other parts of the country, we'll have our typical posts coming in from those of us who are out there every day taking photos and videos of what we are experiencing with the weather and how it impacts our lives. And hey, there's a big game tomorrow, if I remember, for basketball fans. I know they play it indoors, but that game, if I recall, is going to be played in OKC. And they're going to have to deal with weather in OKC tomorrow, most likely. And that's where it gets sketchy. And now you have baseball, and most of the major teams are playing this weekend in these series, and I don't know what that does. I don't know if the Cardinals are home. I don't know if Atlanta's home. I don't know. I think the rain's kind of wrapping up in New England, and I don't know if the Yankees Mets are doing their thing. Chicago is probably not going to be a great place to play tomorrow. Denver, definitely not. Be cold. I wouldn't want to be up there. And there's probably 3 or 4 other major baseball parks where you wouldn't want to be tomorrow. But stay tuned. Weather Co-op, we have you covered on all of that. First and foremost, the damaging weather, severe weather, what we're going to do with that, and what these coming days look like. I'll give you a little bit of a preview here, and then we'll end this. So you're seeing, I'm going to get you back over. You are seeing, not my view. I want to get you back to this view. Okay, studio. And while I'm doing this, I'd certainly love to get a little background of who you are and what your expertise is. And yeah, we'll go here. Okay. And what you were enduring today, because I know a lot of people really had to deal with a lot of stuff with this system. And I was really surprised at how massive it became, and really didn't give us that much of a warning. It was okay. But I didn't see this much coming. This was a little bit of a shocker. The energy was building up, granted, and that does happen. But the setup, because it was moving so slow, and because that pinwheel, upper level low, was just spinning, like a top, time keeps on, into the future. It didn't give me any indication to say that I needed to be worried about it for any reason. Really didn't. Until it did. And then it broke loose. I mean, I can't help but say it. It broke loose. Let's see. So I want to drive this image to you because I do have some great graphics here. Let's see if I can take window capture. Yeah, okay. Get this out of here. Okay. Get you out. Okay. Yeah, this is definitely the best. So we're on. Grab this. My phone just died. Good sign. Okay. So we'll pick this up. Now, this is our day one. And what it's showing you is this area here, as we discussed, coming out from the eastern portions of New Mexico, eastern portions of Colorado, into Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, far eastern Arkansas, eastern half of Missouri, little bit of Iowa. That is going to be where we think the major potential for the worst of what's going to happen tomorrow is going to affect those areas. And that's a pretty safe bet. I think that's a consistent play. When you move from there and you go into Tuesday, take you up a day. Yep, this is your Tuesday lock. So look what happens here. We have a much larger get that a little bit larger for you. I can do it even more. So you see that, yeah, that's better. So you see now we have basically the entire middle of the country covered with at least some type of severe parameter. And the the real bullseye there that's true Tornado Alley. I mean, for any of us, that's about as classic a map as you'll ever see. Taking from, northeast Texas, heading up through I-35, through Norman, Oklahoma City, heading up toward Tulsa, coming in the Piney Hills in Arkansas, and working into the eastern half of Kansas, where you just have nothing but wide open farmland for storms to grow in. And then moving into Missouri, you begin to get populated, you begin to get a little bit of topography. It becomes a much more challenging chase for that. But it's also a lot more dangerous for people that live in that area, because with the hills and the inability to see the storms as well as you can see them in Kansas and Nebraska, by comparison, in Oklahoma, you don't have as much time to take shelter. So that's a big concern. And that area will most likely be expanded. There'll probably be another hatching that comes out for a moderate in red sometime tomorrow. And I would guess that it will be somewhere in the center area of that current orange enhanced, maybe faded over a little bit to the east. But we'll see on that. Then one last thing I'll show you here is the day 3 outlook, because this is not going away. Day 3, let me enlarge my day 3 map. There's no auto size on these, so we're kind of flying by. And these are SPC maps, by the way. Okay, so this is your day 3, and it takes the system. Now it's crawling, right? This is so slow. It's crawling, but it's still feeding off of that same synoptic pattern. We have a fairly large area of marginal, slight, and enhanced that covers, hundreds of millions of people. Some major capital cities, some major tourist cities this time of the year. That bulk of the Mississippi River there and the Ohio River. We have a lot of farmland that is just being taken and plowed and seeded now that what temperatures are good, so they're starting to grow. You don't want to see tornadoes ripping up hundreds and thousands of acres of freshly planted corn and soy and all these things that we grow, because that can do considerable damage to our crops. So we watch all of this. And then that orange enhanced area there over northern Mississippi and northern Alabama and extending into Tennessee. That's, out of all of the areas, that is the one that I probably am concerned about the most, because given what the setup looks to be that day, mind you, we are talking the Tuesday, Wednesday. That area is very difficult to navigate in. A lot of tall trees, very reduced visibility, compact towns, that have a few hundred or a few thousand people. It's a little bit more remote, and the highway system isn't, straight. It's basically just windy, getting through the passes and things like that. So to get a moderate risk there and, some tornadoes to happen, it's going to be challenging. And I do think there's one more day left to that, even where the storms will kind of migrate over toward the Carolinas by Thursday. So we'll see about that. We'll see about the fire weather around Texas, how that works out. But we will be out there. Our team will be out there. Erica will be out there leading the charge. Jose will be out there. Anna doing her things with health and lifestyle, and Hanif doing his great job connecting with people and telling the stories of weather. We have a great crew out there, and if I can convince my little Skipper Key chaser companion, this might be the week that we get out there and do some good for some people and see what we can do to help the cause. So stay tuned on that. Just starting to think about that and put that together. But in the meantime, be safe. If you have anything, by all means, share it with us, tag us so we know. We'll happily share it with you. Our goal is to build this community to be the largest community of its kind in the world. And we know we are fully capable of doing that. We have the technology. We are building technology. We are advancing technology and, protecting that IP at the same time. But doing things that we know are important for people and for the sake of humanity. We need to learn more about all of these things: weather, sustainability, the environment, wildfires, all these behaviors. There isn't just one single thing that dominates meteorologically. You have to look at everything. We're not here to say that climate change is the root of all things that are going bad. Climate change is just another thing that we're trying to measure and make sense of. No knee-jerk reactions. It's just based on the scientific data and having clear minds who can disseminate that data. That's where you make progress. So we've assembled a great team. We have a great product. We are grateful to those of you who have already started to demo the app for us and help us get this going. And soon enough, we'll see the live broadcasts. We'll have the live studios going, and we will be giving you weather in a way you've never been able to get weather before. That's our mission. All right. Thank you again. Like, follow, share, subscribe. Have a great evening.